And we're back. The Bulls are back. The Pelicans are not back. The OKC Thunder are back. But we have a lot to talk about today, as always. And later on the show, we are going to have Jarrett Spence of the Stop and Pop newsletter to talk about some Wizards basketball. And surprisingly, the Wizards are more exciting than their record would imply. And their really horrendous 31-point loss to the Orlando Magic this past Saturday. But anyway, the Bulls are back. And I have never been, a massive Bulls fan, but the team is 5-0 for the first time since the Jordan era. And they're top 5 in offense, top 6 in defense, 6th in net rating. This team is fun, man. And I've been excited about Matas Buzelis for a little while, but I didn't realize how good Josh Giddey would be at carrying over his play from late last season into this season, but he's been phenomenal. And I just wrote an article about it on Sunday, but I'm kind of going to rehash some of that just because it's kind of crazy what they're doing. Giddey joins Larry Bird and Nikola Jokic as the only players to average 22 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds on 45% three-point shooting through the first 5 games of a season. When you're tied with Bird and Jokic, you're doing something right. That is not a cherry pick stat, y'all. That is actual numbers. Phenomenal stuff from Giddey. He fits so well the mold of a jumbo guard, but now this season they're kind of using him as the true point forward instead of just a point guard because they have Trey Jones, who I'll get to in a moment, and a lot of other guys. Ayo Dosunmu looks great, but Giddey's just a lot more in control this season, and he's a lot more confident with his shot. And when he gets a full view of the court, there is nowhere he cannot pass the ball to. He's threading needles. He's doing outlet passes from the other side of the court. Very Doncic-esque, dare I say it. And he is so good at navigating the pick and roll. And he's got the size to where if you have Trey Jones there, he can set the pick for Trey Jones. And then when he sets the pick for Trey Jones, he can then pop back out to the perimeter, take a 3, or he can pop back out to the perimeter, spot up, drive to the basket, and then finish through contact. Phenomenal stuff. And just speaking of finishing through contact, the Bulls are attacking the rim 48% more often than the league average. So they're getting to the rim 48% more often than the average team in the league. And they're avoiding mid-range shots. So we're seeing kind of I don't want to call it a D'Antoni type offense from Billy Donovan, but a very analytically sound Morey ball offense from the Bulls, who for years were the least analytically sound because they had DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. But everything is just kind of falling into place here. And once again, it's early season, but things look good. I can roll off even more stats, y'all. I mean, they're hitting 41.9% of above the break threes, which is probably unsustainable. It's probably going to regress to the mean, but even if they only hit like 37% of them, they'd still be winning all their games. Opponents are only shooting 29% from the corners and 30% from above the break. Once again, sustainable? No, definitely not, unless the Bulls are the best perimeter defense team in the league, which I don't think they are. But once again, even if the guys regress to the mean a little bit, this Bulls team is still very good in a weak Eastern Conference. Giddey, Vucevic, Buzelis, kind of the big 3 here. Dosunmu, Trey Jones, Isaac Okoro, which Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball was a deal that I wasn't fully prepared to embrace from a standpoint of Okoro and Ball not really having the same value. Like, I didn't think Lonzo Ball had the same value, but he's been fine. But Okoro's been great. I mean, his perimeter defense has actually been solid. He's hitting his threes as always. He plays a perfect role for this offense. Kevin Huerter, still not the same guy that he once was for the Hawks, and for the Kings. Still a great off-ball mover, though. And Giddey can drive to the basket, kick it out, or you can have Trey Jones drive to the basket, kick it out, or you can have Ayo Dosunmu drive to the basket, kick it out, or you can have Matas Buzelis drive to the basket, kick it out. You get the drill. This team is fun and absolute league pass watch. And are they going to make noise in the Eastern Conference for contending? Really, I don't care. This team is just really well built, young, has the roster to actually compete over the next few years. And at risk of sounding redundant, there's a fun team to watch. You know what I'm saying? So, who isn't a fun team to watch, though? The Pelicans. The Pelicans are, as of recording this, 0-6. Jordan Poole is a mess. Zion Williamson is good, but defensively, especially on the perimeter, not great. DeJounte Murray, still injured. Rookies, Jeremiah Fears, taking shots, missing shots. He's been okay, not terrible, still not efficient. Derek Queen, they don't know how to use Derek Queen. I wrote about this in Saturday's piece. Derek Queen is at his best when he gets the chance to not run the offense, because I don't think you can expect that at the NBA level for him, but when you can run part of an offense through him, when you're going to run plays for him, or at least through him, right? And the Pelicans have done none of that. Through their first 5 games, Derek Queen had 1 assist, and that 1 assist was a handoff to Zion Williamson. They're not letting this man get the ball in the post, kick it out, and do what he did all the way through college. They just don't know how to use him. And that is disturbing to me for a team that traded away their 2026 first-round pick to the Pacers. Let me remind you, before the draft, they traded their 2026 first-round pick to the Pacers. Then Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles. And suddenly, the Pacers are in a much better position to use that draft pick than the Pelicans are, and the Pelicans are still terrible. So it's not really going to work, is it? Outside of that, we do have some really phenomenal performances. Austin Reeves is on a, dare I say it, Linsanity run. Not the same. The people at ESPN who are like, oh, this is the new Jeremy Lin. No, Jeremy Lin was different. But Austin Reeves has been phenomenal. 4 games, started all of them because Luka was out. And one of them, Luka was there, actually. 48% from the field, 38% from 3, 94% free throws. He knows how to knock down his free throws, and he keeps ripping on Luka for it. 5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 2 steals, and the big one, the 35 points per game. Austin Reeves has been really good, and you gotta love a story like his. Didn't get D1 offers out of high school, and completely under-recruited. And he just knows how to ball. Like, the Hillbilly Kobe reference is a little overdone, but it's not completely off because this guy can get a shot off anywhere. I've been really impressed this season with how he's learned how to play on the ball and create space for himself, because I think that's one thing he struggled with before was, can he get to the basket off that first step? Because his first step was good. I mean, he's an NBA player, right? But there's another level of elite athleticism that you have to have. I don't know if he necessarily has that, but he's found a way to get past defenders and create space so that he's able to hit shots, and that's been phenomenal. The Lakers are good when Luka is on the floor. LeBron is still dealing with sciatica, which I've said over the past few weeks. Old syndrome, but yeah, I mean, the Lakers are good. And if Reeves continues to play like this, he will get paid a lot of money because he has gone from a number 3 option to a number 2 option alongside Luka. And if he continues to play like this, may be better than LeBron James as a scorer when LeBron comes back. But that's another story for another time. Ryan Rollins, talk about players who have gained new opportunity and are thriving in it. I talked about on the Bucks podcast with the great Marquez Johnson about all these guys, Cole Anthony being most improved, and he was like, well, what about Ryan Rollins? And I thought about Ryan Rollins, but he can't put me on the spot, right? And if he's listening to it, he may chuckle at it, but I was like, yeah, Ryan Rollins is awesome. And one of the things I told him is, I don't know if Ryan Rollins is going to get the opportunity this season. But sure enough, Ryan Rollins has gotten the opportunity this season. And over the past week, he started all 4 games, 33 minutes a game, 61% from the floor, 53% from 3, 82% from the free throw line, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, 22 points per game, and honestly looks like a co-star for Giannis, which is so weird for this guy. That's one of the only young players on the Bucks roster. But he's been an elite spark plug, right? And before, a lot of the stuff was, hey, Giannis is going to drive in, he's going to kick it out, he's going to hit threes. Now Ryan Rollins is actually kind of handling the ball, and similar to the Austin Reeves thing, he's giving himself space to operate, and that confidence is so apparent. One of the lone bright spots on this Bucks team from a standpoint of future, Miles Turner has been, his plus-minus numbers have been great. His actual counting stats have been horrific for his standard, and you need somebody else to step up. Kyle Kuzma's actually been decent off the bench, but with the guard play, Kevin Porter Jr. just had an injury, and he's going to be out for a little bit. Cole Anthony's been fine per minute, actually really good. I'm feeling pretty vindicated about the most improved player, even though he's probably not going to win it. But Ryan Rollins has been the de facto second co-star to Giannis, and that's a massive leap. Other guys who are performing, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, you know the drill. Danny Ainge is going to trade this guy because he's too good, and he contributes to too many wins, even though they kind of can't win. They went 1-2 over the past week. As of recording this right now, they're playing the Hornets, and they're losing, if I remember correctly. But 39 minutes a game, which is a lot for Markkanen, to be honest. 39% from three, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 39 points per game, which is absurd. And Markkanen, I mean, the thing with Markkanen you're always going to have is he's going to come off of screens, or he's going to set the screen, pop back out, but he's going to come off of screens. He's going to hit threes. And he's been a lot more physical this time around. And I think a lot of that is because you saw it in Eurobasket where he's just charging at guys, right? And he looks fitter. He looks stronger. And Danny Ainge is going to have to trade him at the trade deadline. And there are a lot of people that are saying, like, hey, send him to the Pistons, send him to maybe OKC, send him to, name any team in the Eastern Conference who could use his services. And Danny Ainge is going to try to get everything he can out of whoever trades for him. And that may be the problem in actually trading for him. Wemby, kind of what I said last time. MVP frontrunner in my book, 15.7 rebounds over the past week. Absurd. 4.7 assists, 4 blocks. If you halved his blocks, he would be the defensive player of the year. 4 blocks is ridiculous. 27 points per game. He's actually lowered down on scoring. And part of that is like when you play so hard on defense, like even Wemby with his alien-like nature, you have to dial it back on the offense side just because you're going to get gassed, right? But no other notes on Wemby. Stephon Castle's been good too. Watch for Stephon Castle. Because the most improved player of the year award is broken, and I will stand by that fact, Stephon Castle might be in the running, even though he's only a second-year guy. Kawhi Leonard is actually back with higher aspirations, and 54% field goal, 56% from three, 100% free throw, 7 rebound, 3 assist, 3 steal, 27 points per game. Game winner the other night. Kawhi looks like Kawhi. And the Clippers may not have Kawhi for much longer if the NBA investigation decides that he does not deserve to be on the Clippers much longer. And I'm not going to talk about that anymore because that's Pablo Torre's thing. But yeah, I mean, lots of really great games over the past week. And the Bulls were kind of like my pie in the sky thing where it's like, these guys are really good. Pelicans were the doldrums of this team is really bad and they have a pick to give to the Pacers. And by this time in, what would it be? May, June? We may be looking at the Pacers having a top 3 pick in the draft, which would be hilarious. But yeah, anyway, I really don't want to prolong this section any longer than I have to because we're going to talk about some Wizards basketball with Jarrett Spence, Stop and Pop. Let's get it. Awesome. So we're back with Jarrett Spence of the Stop and Pop Substack, credentialed media member of the Washington Wizards and WNBA credentialed media member. How are you doing, Jarrett?
I'm good, Jacob. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I've been scouring the Substack world and broader newsletter world for people that are really focused on their teams because, it's one thing to talk about a team when you just kind of do a broad overview of the whole league, which is what I try to do on this podcast on my Substack. But when you talk to people who know their team, it's just different. It's just different. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely understand that.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of break down the Wizards. The Wizards are, and no insult meant by this, but the Wizards are not the team that most people want to talk about on podcasts right now. Just
Which
because
is
they're in
fair.
a weird, yeah, I mean they're in a weird state of affairs. But there's been a lot of good that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen in terms of young player development and overall, state of play. Of course, you kind of had the really bad loss on Saturday, which we're recording this on Sunday, so that was last night, and you were at that game. So just kind of give me your thoughts on that game. We'll get deeper into the nitty gritty of the whole season, but what were your thoughts on that 30+ point loss to the Orlando Magic?
Yeah, it was really close in the first quarter. The Wizards were actually up in the first quarter, and then Ben Carroll just kind of took over him and Franz, just putting their head down, getting downhill, getting to the line, which I expected them to do because that's kind of like their MO. Franz is shooting 40% from 3 this year. Paulo's about like 20-something%.
Paulo can't shoot.
Yeah, he can't shoot.
Just say it. Paulo can't shoot.
So like that, I expected them to really just try to like get to the line, get some easy buckets. So it really worked for them. And Wizards young team, super undisciplined so far. So they're gonna foul regardless. So on top of the fact that Franz and Paulo are like specimens when it comes to size. They're both 6'10", Paolo's like 260. So they're going to easily just be able to bully their way to the basket. So overall, I mean, it was a bad loss, but I'm looking forward to the next game. Finally got to see all the young players together on the court. So that was a good thing to see because it's kind of like a glimpse into the future with this team.
Yeah, one of the notes I had is that this team is actually, by average age, the second youngest team in the league. And the only younger team is the Brooklyn Nets. And if you took out a couple of the veterans on the Wizards roster, they would have probably one of the youngest teams of all time. And, you know, we'll get into Kyshawn George later, who's been phenomenal, but it feels weird that he's older than Alex Sarr. Like, I forget that Alex Sarr is 20 years old, and you guys have a lot of good pieces. But, you know, that being said, going into that, what have you liked so far overall through these first 5-6 games? Specific players, lineups, trends, except for Kyshawn George, because we'll talk about him a bit later because I'm really excited about him.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for me, Alex Sarr, he really made an emphasis on attacking the rim this season and not settling for threes. But, you know, him, Keyshawn, and Bob Carrington all had 100-plus threes on the season, which was a record for most threes by a rookie trio on the team. But Alex Sarr decided to, you know what, I'm going to change my game. I'm going to play pick and roll. I'm going to get to the basket. I'm going to post up, slash, just to get inside. So overall, I like that about him. And then also his percentages went up in every category. So I'm going to run down the percentages for you before last night's game. So from 24-25 to 25-26, the field goal percentage went up from .394 to 53.6. The three-point percentage was a nil under 31%. Now it's almost at 43.
That 42.9 clip is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. The 2-point percentage was at 54.4. It went up to 56.4. The free throw percentage, 57.9. It's up to 85.7. And this is after only 5 games, of course. Small sample size, but it shows that he really is taking that leap as far as deciding to, all right, I am a big man. I'm going inside. I'm using my size, using my athleticism, and I'm going to abuse defenses. For me, I feel like his ceiling is like Evan Mobley, Anthony Davis type of player, where he can do a lot of things on the floor defensively. You know, offensively, when he decides to get to the basket, he could just bully his way and just basically shoot over anybody because he's 7 feet. 7'1".
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed the most is, like you said, that physicality of deciding that he's a big man. Like those rebounding numbers last season, I believe they were around, I want to say 4.5, 5, somewhere out there. And now, you know, through these first 5-6 games, he's averaging over 8.5 rebounds, which is a massive difference. And to me, that kind of reminds me of the questions that surrounded Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot. And I know that's why a lot of people kind of compared him and Alex Sarr during the draft process. But he's really gotten on the boards, and that's been something I've been really impressed by. The defense has been there like since his rookie year. He can block shots. He can swat guys out on the perimeter. He's super mobile, right? But the willingness for him to actually embrace that physicality is something that I think opens up his entire game.
Yeah, I mean, him going up against a big guy like Joel Embiid, and he just really took it to him and had 30 on him. That really showed me he's willing to take that abuse, take that contact, and I'm surprised he really had that much success on Joel Embiid. And granted, Embiid is not the same player he used to be from his MVP years because of all of the injuries, and he's a lot slower, a lot less mobile. But Sarr really took advantage of that matchup, and I was really impressed by how he performed that game. That, to me, that was one of the bright signs of the season so far.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have a lot of good young players. You've Alex Sarr, you have Kyshawn George, once again, we'll get into in a moment. Bub Carrington. And Bub Carrington's stats, like his field goal percentage hasn't been awesome, but his 3-point percentage has, which is kind of a story for a lot of this roster. One thing I noticed is that you guys are kind of shooting lights out from 3, especially from the corners. I believe you guys are top 3 in corner 3 percentage when I was reviewing it earlier. But one guy who kind of hasn't gotten the memo is Bilal Coulibaly, who I think we kind of expected to take another leap this season. He hasn't been bad by any means. I mean, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 25 minutes per game. Like, it's not bad. And his field goal percentage overall, if you take out the threes, it's not bad either. But he's only shooting about 22.9% from deep. So what do you think is holding him back right now? Is it the fact that he's not playing full-time starter minutes? Is it the system? What would you say it is?
For one, as we all know, he missed some time beginning the season and this offseason with the thumb injury. So I think that was kind of really affecting his shooting. His first game back, he hit I think 3 threes. So it's coming along. But that's always kind of been like the MO with Bilal. He never has shown to be a good shooter, but he started to make strides in that department. The jumper does look a lot smoother.
It does.
I feel like, just give it some time throughout the season, and I feel like he will really start to really hitting at a higher clip. Also, confidence. I feel like at times last year, his confidence kind of wavered as far as looking to score. Like sometimes he kind of coasts on offense when you kind of forget he's even on the court. But defensively, you notice it all the time. But offensively, it's like, okay, you have the athleticism, you have the strength to get to the basket and attack defenders. So we need you to be more aggressive. And then when that confidence comes, the shooting will come as well because you're building up your offense as far as just seeing the ball go in the hole. So I feel like as time progresses, it would get a lot better for him. But the thumb injury, I think that's really what was kind of affecting him right now. It's only been 2 games so far, so we just got to give it some more time.
Right. And that's one of the tough things with early season sample sizes is, you have some guys who've only been there for 2 games, 5 games, 6 games. It's really tough to tell who's for real, like completely separate. I talked about this on the introductory to this pod of the Bulls look like they're back, but do we know for sure? No. I mean, it's only been, 5, 6 games. So it's one of those things with the early season sample sizes. But speaking of early season sample sizes, what haven't you liked through these first 5, 6 games or just downright hated?
Yeah. For me, I feel like at times the offense goes through C.J. McCollum and Chris Middleton in clutch situations when if you're going to commit to developing the team, building up the young guys, let the young guys get those reps down the stretch because eventually these guys are going to be your go-to guys. Middleton and CJ, they've proven themselves to be able to handle those situations in the past. Not so much this year. So, have them take a step back during crunch time, win or lose, ride with the young guys, see how it goes. You don't need to play them 30 minutes or anything like that. Nobody's on the team is actually playing 30 minutes a game. So I wish that the coaching staff decide to play the young guys 30 minutes and just live with the results. Because as much as you say you're developing and want to build them up, you got to give them more reps. You got to give them opportunities to prove that they can perform in these situations. Like I mentioned before with the young lineup, first time that Kyshawn George, Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, Bob Carrington, and Trey Johnson played together last night. So that was an encouraging sign. I talked to Coach Keefe about that. He actually said he felt like they struggled a bit in the first half, but in the start of the fourth quarter, they started to find a rhythm together and started to play better. So I wish that he decided to run with that lineup a lot more in the fourth quarter. Just cut the lead to probably 10, 15, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, they went with CJ and Chris. I feel like eventually they're going to have to make a decision on those two.
Yes.
Yeah, like
potentially at the deadline, they may have to make
by
a
the
decision.
deadline. Yeah, I would say Chris Middleton is the harder one to actually move because of the contract and injury history. So CJ will probably be the one to likely be moved first. I'm not opposed to keeping Chris Middleton on the team since he is a champion, so the young guys could learn from him.
But he takes up a lot of the shots. Right now, he's taking up a lot of the shots. Like he's taking up about 30 minutes per game when, Bub Carrington's getting 27 minutes a game, which is not bad for Bub Carrington, to be fair. But like you're saying, it's kind of one of those things where I've been surprised with the lack of trust they've put in both Bub Carrington and Coulibaly in clutch situations. Kyshawn George are giving him a little bit more leeway for obvious reasons. But I've just been shocked by because I feel like with Bub Carrington, a lot of people coming into the draft, a year ago, they're like, "Oh, this guy's clutch." Like that was kind of one of his things. It was like this guy's got the clutch factor, and like you said, I've just been surprised by the lack of clutch time minutes that he's gotten under the current system. Last year, I feel like he got more because sure, Jordan Poole was around, but they really weren't playing him very, very late into the season. And now it feels like McCollum has kind of taken that Jordan Poole spot of, and of course he does not hog the ball in any way like Jordan Poole does. Don't even get me started on Jordan Poole. But oh my gosh, the Pelicans are a mess right now. But he is more willing to distribute, but also he plays the same position virtually in the context of this offense. And that's been a really confusing thing for me to watch, at least watch the tape, is they're not really trusting all of their young guys to make mistakes. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of a good developmental team is you have to let your young guys make mistakes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I do feel like with Bilal coming back, I didn't expect Bub to be kind of like the casualty in the starting lineup and have him come off the bench, but he probably has struggled the most out of all the players in that lineup. But still, I feel like he should be the one to, if you're going to commit to him being the point guard, let him be the point guard. Yes. Yeah, I like Kyshawn becoming the playmaker as well, becoming like that point forward guy, but have Bub be that main guy. Like last season, when Poole wasn't handling the ball, it was Bub Carrington. So let him be that guy again. I would say Chris Middleton should be the one to come off the bench, and you ride with the 4 young guys, Bub, Alex, Keyshawn, Bilal, and CJ as well. Have him in just as that veteran presence on the court, and then you just go from there.
Yeah, I think Bub's, like, I understand Bub Carrington is he's one of those players that, and I think this is something you're going to see as his contract progresses and all that stuff, is he's one of those players that's very tough to work with as a focal piece of a starting lineup. But in my mind, it's like, why not play him in the Peyton Pritchard kind of role? Because you have nothing to lose, like Peyton Pritchard until this season, of course, because of the circumstances over in Boston, but he would just come in end of quarters, take some shots, and they draw up plays for him. And I think Bub can be that kind of guy, or at least experiment with it, because you got to give the guy something to work with. And he's been shooting lights out from deep. He needs to finish better through contact. That was one of the things that I saw during the draft process that I thought was going to limit him, is his ability to finish against bigger defenders. He's shown growth in certain aspects, but hasn't been a great start to the season in that respect. But I mean, that being said, you guys have a lot of young guys. You have Trey Johnson, who has actually not been as, I thought he was going to be a little bit of a shot chucker to start, just because I kind of saw like, oh, this guy likes to take a lot of threes. Hasn't been terrible. Not amazing. Hasn't been terrible. But all that being said, with the young guys, Kyshawn George has been the early star of this season where people are like, whoa, is this guy, the guy for the Wizards, right? And I'm just going to read off some of his stats here. 31 minutes a game, 18.3 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists, 54.5% from 3, which is not going to sustain itself, but it's incredible, and 55.4% from the floor. So, talk about Kyshawn George's overall development and early this season, and where do you see him slotting in the long term? Is he the second option? Is he an elite third option? Or can he even overtake what looks like right now Alex Sarr as that number 1 option?
For me, I'm loving what Keyshawn is doing as far as the playmaker role, scoring. He talked a lot about hitting the weight room twice a day, getting his work in, and it's showing definitely on the court.
He looks way bigger. He looks
like, and when you see him in person, he's huge. Like, really? He is huge. He's tall and he's broad. So it's like, you can tell like he's really been putting in the work. But I see him long term second option, high level third option, because I feel like his long term position will be like point forward from what he's shown this year. He showed a lot of it last year as well, especially on the defensive end, being that guy to guard the best player on the opposing team. He's doing that again this year, but he's adding the offense to it. So, like, I'm loving how he's playing right now. I do feel like he has some learning curves to get. As far as defensively, he does still foul a lot on defense, but I think that just comes.
I think it's 5 fouls per game is what I was looking at on the stats.
Up there. Yeah, he's up there. I think he's like 5.5. He actually talked about that last night as well during the post game. And I feel like as time progresses, he gets stronger. He gets smarter on defense and understand different players' tendencies and how the reps are also calling the game that night, just getting a better feel for how the game is going. I do feel like he will learn from that And also the thing is with it, him having that load on offense can take away from the defense as far as energy wise. So
Oh
and
yeah.
when you get tired on defense, you may end up fouling, might commit stupid fouls, things like that. So with Bilal coming back, I feel like that will help kind of take the pressure away from Kyshawn to guard the best player on the opposing team, because Bilal can slot in and guard the opposing player as well. So I feel like long term, that can be his position. Like, I don't want to say long term he'll be like a Scottie Pippen level type of player, but I feel like that is kind of his skill set, like a Scottie Pippen, Andre Iguodala. Not as athletic, of course, but just based on the playmaking, the defense. He's a better shooter than them, of course, but I feel like that's kind of like his role for this team.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed is, like I said, at the start of the show, is he's technically older than Alex Sarr, but he's also still just 21, and he will end the season being 22 years old, which it's weird. We're in this weird state of the NBA where we feel like 22 is really old, and we've been kind of poisoned by guys like Dalton Knecht, who hasn't really turned out for the Lakers yet, and he was drafted at 22, and everybody's like, oh, these guys are old. But like Kyshawn George has a year of NBA experience under his belt. He's only 21, going to be 22. And the fact that it's kind of like the Alex Sarr thing. I'm shocked at his rebounding, honestly, because he's not supposed to be this team's premier rebounder, but he's almost out rebounding Alex Sarr a lot of times. And I think a lot of that is due to motor. And Sarr has a good motor, but I think his positioning on reboundings could be a little iffy. Kyshawn just kind of knows where to be all the time. And I've just been really impressed with his willingness, because before his role was, hey, catch the ball, take these threes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Make these shots, do your job, you're a role player. Now he's actually, I saw a clip where he's doing like behind the back, step back dribble into a three. It's like, oh my gosh, where's this guy come from? And he's just got so much more confidence. You can tell he's worked on a shot, and you can tell that he's worked on his ability to handle the ball at his height. And that's kind of where the NBA is moving, right? You're seeing all these guys that are just jumbo point guards. And I think he's a point forward in certain instances. I don't know if he's the full-time point forward.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But I see the flashes of like, kind of like how and I'm a very big fan of Matas Buzelis, but kind of like how I see the flashes of Matas Buzelis, where it's like secondary ball handler. Heck yeah, this man can do it. And that's just been a phenomenal growth curve for him this early on in his career. And it's even better in a position where none of the guys are pressured to win right now, and they can kind of develop on their own terms, right? And that's something I wanted to get into is what counts as success for the Wizards right now, because it's not going to be about wins, most likely, because it's like Matt Ishbia, the Suns owner, was like, we're not going to measure this season in wins, we're going to measure it in success. It's like, okay, whatever. But for you guys, it's like they're a completely different story because they're a mess. But for the Wizards, what does success count as for you guys, if not the wins?
I feel like for us, success would mean just steady development, as far as just seeing players progress this season and just kind of growing their role or take a next step to a new role. Like we talked about Bilal improving the shooting, Kyshawn with the defense, Alex Sarr continuing his attacking of the rim, Bub Carrington finally just attacking the rim and kind of finishing around the rim. I feel like that will be like the success point for the Wizards this year. Not going to get a lot of wins this year. Also, we have some pick swaps that may generate to a top pick.
I was going to bring that up. Is your current pick this year is top 8 protected. Mm-hmm. And in the future, you have a lot of picks with really complicated swaps that could convey into top picks, yes.
Yep, so that will be kind of as a success this year as well. Another loaded draft class coming up in 2026. So
very good draft class.
Very good draft class. So a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how this draft goes. So I feel like those will be the success points of this year. And also, if they are able to trade Middleton and CJ and get more picks from those trades, that'd be another point of success as well. And I feel like the last few years of the Will Dawkins era as the GM, it's kind of been a rinse and repeat system where it gets a vet. All right, teach the young guys. We'll trade them out. Ship them out, get another vet, get a pick out of it. We're going to build up your value, ship you out to a decent team, good team, whatever, and then bring in another vet to teach the guys. So I feel like it's a good system because it really gives the players a perspective from different vets on how to grow in this league. So I feel like that is a kind of like a homegrown type of system where like the Oklahoma Cities, the Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, the ones who have homegrown talent, that's the direction that the Wizards are going in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the things you mentioned very briefly was the system of getting a vet and then shipping them out and then kind of doing right by them. I think, and I don't know personally, but I would assume that the Wizards front office, for as rough as the past few years have been from a win perspective, I assume that they have a decently good reputation now because all the guys that they're shipping out are generally going to good spots. I mean, you think of Denny Avdia. It went to the Blazers, who were in a good rebuild. Are you a better rebuild than the Wizards had at the time? Yeah. And still. And Jordan Poole, we forget that the Pelicans were actually kind of supposed to be good because they had DeJounte Murray and Zion, did right by him. Kyle Kuzma shipped him out to the Bucks. Then, of course, the Bucks implode. What are you going to do? But generally doing right by these guys. And I would assume that gives him and the rest of the front office a really good reputation for guys where otherwise they might be like, oh, you're shipping me to Washington, and what am I going to do in Washington, right? And I think that they realize that, hey, this is a veteran system, and if I do the right things and I play well enough in my role, I'm going to go to a better situation.
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to, because some players get shipped out to bad situations, and they, I don't want to say they blame the team that they came from, but sometimes it just kind of...
They check out.
They check out, yeah. It is as bad as it sounds. Some teams just don't do right by a player.
100%.
Which we don't know what goes behind conversations between them, but the Wizards seem like they are doing right by their vets. Thank you for your service. You helped our young guys. We're going to ship you somewhere where you can have a chance to compete for a championship.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that I think the front offices look only at what can we get in return versus the how can we best maximize both sides. Of course, it's a business. Everybody says it's a business, but that's one thing that the Jazz have been a little iffy with because Danny Ainge is a very
cutthroat.
Try to get picks kind of guy. It's worked for him. I mean, you can't blame him. But it's one of the systems that it's just a different kind of front office. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually, it's weird. I feel like, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the pod. Like if I had somebody who were on the Hornets on the pod, I'd be like, this team sucks. But I just have a history of ripping on the Hornets. But the Wizards feel fun this year, and it's been actually not terrible to watch them play, which is not something I could say about every Wizards team over the past 5 years. Because you guys have so many young guys. And there's one question I do want to ask you, which I didn't plan on this originally, but I'm just looking at the stats. And I have long been a Cam Whitmore truther. Yep. When he came to the Rockets and he had very little role, I wrote an article where I was like, look, per possession, does this mean he's as good as these players? No. But per possession, Cam Whitmore is outscoring Victor Wembanyama. How is that possible? And I'm looking at the stats on Cam Whitmore right now. He was shipped out to the Wizards for essentially a ham sandwich and 16.7 minutes. So he's not getting tons of playing time, but it's there. 9.3 points per game in 16.7 minutes, 3.2 rebounds, 0.8 assists. He does not pass. The possession ends here. And his shooting splits are okay. 35% from three, 42% from the field. Whatever. But I want to ask your opinion because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter be like, I'm done with the Cam Whitmore experience. This is terrible. What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's terrible at all. I mean, his role, we know Cam Whitmore from the Rockets. His role is get the ball, I'm taking a shot, regardless. And for him, I feel like he's a microwave scorer. He's streaky. And I feel like that's going to be his role long-term in the league. But also, the Wizards have a lot of players that play the same position, so it's a lot of log jams right now. So I feel like when Cam gets in the game, he feels like, all right, I gotta get my shot. I gotta prove that.
Gotta put my stats up.
I gotta get my stats up. I gotta prove that I'm worth being in the rotation. I mean, his last year, his minutes as a starter was like 20-something points per game. So I feel like he's a really good basketball player, and he's strong. Like when he is deciding to go to the basket, he's going to get to the basket. He's going to get an and one.
So explosive.
Yeah, he's really explosive. So I feel like he, I I'm not out on the Cam Whitmore experience. It's only 6 games into the season,
Right.
so we just gotta, give him the grace, I should say, to develop. He's still learning. People forget he's still really young as well.
Still really young. He got drafted at like 18, 19.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like he's still learning how to play NBA type of defense, still learning how to play an NBA type offense. So he still has time to develop. And I feel like long term, he could be a part of this team for what they want to do as far as big players who can score and play defense. Because Cam has the athleticism to be a plus defender. It's just having had the discipline and the effort on that side. And he'll learn.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, as a Rockets fan, I had to ask just because very similar to Jalen Green, I loved and hated watching him in equal space, just because he's a very tough player to work with, but also when he's on, it's just, oh my gosh, looks like he's one of those players where we're going to look back in 10 years and you're going to look at a highlight tape of Cam Whitmore, and no matter what happens, I don't know what's going to happen with his career, but I do know this: you're going to look at a highlight tape of his career in the NBA, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, this looks like a multi-time All-Star. Because like you look at just his highlights and, oh my gosh, the guy's phenomenal, right? And it's just putting everything else together, and the Rockets didn't really have an opportunity to give him a role, and so that's why I'm happy he's with the Wizards, but also, like you said, a lot of guys at his position. But that all being said, I do have one more thing for you, which I did not notify you about prior to the recording of this episode, and it is some Washington Wizards trivia.
Okay.
And they range from, and I said this with the last guest, they range from decent trivia difficulty to probably absurd. So I do not expect you to get all of these. If you don't get any, don't be mad, because some of them are kind of ridiculous. So, first one. Our questions are more positive, but I had to pull this one out because I think it's really interesting. The Wizards have lost 108 games in franchise history by 30 or more points, including last night's loss to the Magic. That is the third most out of any franchise. Can you name either of the other two franchises that have lost more 30-point games?
The Hornets?
No, that would be a good guess, but the problem is they haven't been around long enough.
Okay. So, that's a good question. The Pelicans?
Also a good guess. Not around long enough.
Okay. Sacramento.
No, that's also a good guess. Coincidentally, these two teams are connected by location at least one point in NBA history. They were at one point, there were two teams at this location. Not at the same time, though.
At the same time. So, Clippers.
No, also a good guess. The answers are the 76ers, who've lost 117 games, and the Warriors, 118 games. So,
wow, surprised by the Warriors. Sixers.
Yes, I was also surprised, but they were horrendous until, of course, Wilt Chamberlain days and all that stuff. But second one, Kyshawn George will be 22 by the end of this season, as I mentioned, and he's currently averaging over 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Who was the last Wizards player, 22 or younger, to record 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists or more in those categories over the course of a season?
22 or younger for Wizards?
Yes.
18, 7, and 4. Chris Webber?
Yes, that is one of them. Coincidentally, there are two answers here. You got one, so you've already won. Can you guess who the second is?
I want to say Jawai Howard.
And even crazier, both in the same season, 1995-96.
I was thinking about that. I was like, I know they played together, so I'm thinking those seasons.
Yes. So that you got that one. Awesome. So next one. Alex Sarr, as long as he plays 65 games, is on pace to clear 500 rebounds in a season. Can you name at least 2 of the last 4 players for the Wizards to clear that mark in a season? If you need a hint, I'll give it to you, but I'll let you start to guess first.
Wes Unseld.
No.
Oh.
The last 2 of the last 4 chronologically.
2 of the last 4. Okay. Marcin Gortat.
No. He is actually the 5th player, so he technically does not count here.
Okay. Who was another great rebounder on that team? I mean, Chris Webber?
No. You're too far back.
Too far back. Okay.
I'll give you a hint. None of these players, though they are all still active in the NBA, none of them are on the team anymore.
None of them are on the team no more. Okay. Give me another hint. Are they bigs or are they forwards or guards?
One of the four is a big,
Okay.
technically. The other three are forwards and a guard.
Okay. So one of them is Bradley Beal.
No.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Huh.
I'll give you another hint. Each of these players are from the 23-24, 22-23, 21-22, and 2020-21 seasons, though they all played separately.
They all played separately.
Right. Two of them may have been on the team at the same time, but the majority of them were not.
Who was on those teams? Oh, okay. Porzingis.
Yes, that is one.
Kyle Kuzma.
Yes, that is two.
Okay. Daniel Gafford.
No, I thought he would
Oh.
be, but I think the thing with him is he had some injuries. I think that's what it was.
He did have some injuries.
He did not clear 500 rebounds in a season. There are two more.
Two more.
One forward and one guard.
One forward, one guard. Okay.
You want me to tell you?
Guard. Yeah, tell me.
Denny Avdia.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And Russell Westbrook. The fever dream that is Wizards Russell Westbrook.
Yes, right. Because, he averaged like 12 rebounds that year.
Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. Yeah. Last one. Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr were both born in 2005. And they're now playing with CJ McCollum, who was born in 1991. In other words, he's getting pretty old, right?
Yeah.
Since 2005, so this is post-Jordan years, who is the oldest player to record a 30-point game for the Wizards?
Post-Jordan era.
So post-2005.
Post-2005. Paul Pierce.
No.
Ooh. I don't want to say Gilbert Arenas because he was still relatively young.
This player that I'm talking about became the oldest player to do this a lot.
Oldest player to do this a lot.
Yeah, he broke his own record a lot of times.
Antoine Jameson.
He was 33 years and 217 days old. In other words, any 30-pointer that McCollum records this season will break the since 2005 record.
Ooh, okay.
So, yeah, now we just got to wait for him to actually score 30 points, which at this point, not 100% sure.
Don't look up to it.
I'm not 100% sure, but man, it's been awesome having you on. Where can people find you on social media, on Substack? Tell the people.
Yep. So you can find me on JL_ON_hoops on Threads, TikTok, and Instagram. Substack, you can find me, Jarrett L. Spence, and
the Stop and Pop newsletter.
Stop and Pop newsletter on there. Twitter as well, JL_ON_hoops. You can find me on all those social medias. And Jacob, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll have you on some point later in the season, potentially closer to when we know how the lottery odds are going to play out a little bit.
Or even during the trade deadline.
Or, hey, trade deadline could be interesting. You never know what they'll do with CJ McCollum or Chris Middleton or, for that matter, any other player on the roster. So, yeah, it's been awesome talking with you, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.